Good evening, folks. My name is Javier Perez, and you've reached Latino Talk TV, and we're glad you can make it with us today. It's great to have you here. We have a kind of a special guest today. This is our executive producer, Mr. Enrique Arana, newlywed Enrique Arana, and he's going to kind of fill in today. Ben, I'm afraid, couldn't make it. He had to work late. You know, we all have regular jobs, and we kind of do this in our spare time. But I tell you, man, we just seem like we just run from one place to another, huh, Enrique?
That's exactly what it is, right? But it's a lot of fun doing it.
It is a lot of fun. I'll tell you, it's great. Enrique has been volunteering with us probably, I guess, closer to probably been over a year now, right?
Total, I'd say about 2 to 3 years now.
Is it that long?
Yeah.
Holy smokes! That's been a while.
It's been a while now. You know, it started in the back, kind of operating a cameras, getting everything ready, the mics and whatnot. But yeah, I'm in the back and taking care of you guys, making sure y'all look nice and pretty.
Yeah, I tell you.
For your diehard fans. And
yeah, man, I tell you, man, you still have to. You got to polish off another 20 pounds off me, though, dude. You know. Come on now.
I think we need some special effects.
There you go. You have to use a green screen behind me or something, right? But I tell you, you know, our studios are at HMS Studios, which is Houston Media Source Studios. The beautiful East End, right off of Harrisburg. We're on 410 Roberts, and we do this live every week. And we're glad you're able to join with us. We got a big show today. Enrique, we're going to have Patricia Fernandez, who's an immigration attorney.
Wow.
And then we're going to get Richard Reyes Pancho Claus in here today also for just kind of update on what he's doing. Today, man, I got to wear a zoot suit.
A zoot suit?
First time I wore a zoot suit for Richard Reyes's Pancho Claus's Christmas in July.
Gotcha.
And that was cool, man. I had the sunglasses, I had the hat, I had the zoot suit. I said, man, I got no zoot suit, Richard.
What color was your zoot suit?
My zoot suit was a black pinstripe. It was black with silver pinstripes. It was pretty cool.
Man,
it was pretty cool, man.
So you're bringing them back, huh? They're going to become fashionable.
I was bringing it, and then they had me do about 5 minutes of stand-up.
Oh, did you?
But they gave me the jokes, and so
they gave you the jokes. Okay.
My stand-up kind of crashed.
I would have crashed and burned if I were up there.
I tell you, man, the Republican
Where was this
convention. Well, this was at HCC.
At HCC.
At the campus HCC Southeast in the Learning Hub.
Mm-hmm.
They're great people out there, man.
Right.
They donate that to Richard to do his program for the seniors, so it was great. And he has his live band there and live entertainment, and it's a great. He does it every July for the seniors, so it was great to be part of that event.
Good stuff.
But man, how about that Republican convention, man?
You know, I didn't get a chance to watch it all, but I did see the kind of the Cliff Notes version of what happened, and
well, that's what we all see, isn't it?
Quotes by Donald Trump. You know, and they had some really good speakers out there. You know, and I think that's kind of the plan for the RNC, right? Get some popular individuals who speak well of Donald Trump. But you know, there was one man who got booed off the stage.
I know, our buddy Ted Cruz.
Exactly, right. And it was all because he decided not to endorse Trump at the RNC.
You know what? And why would they even let him on, knowing he wasn't going to endorse him? I just don't understand these people.
You know, that is a really interesting question. You know, it's possible that Donald Trump wanted this to play out.
Maybe he just wanted him, put him on the spot and let him shoot himself in the foot.
You know, I'm not sure if he did that. What do you think? Is that what he did by not endorsing him? Or did he stand firm and now people see him as I guess the person who he always was, a person who sticks to his beliefs, and if he doesn't agree with something, he's not going to do it.
But if you know that, why would you let him go on the air anyway? You know, that's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, I don't blame him. I don't blame him for not endorsing Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel like he insulted his wife and personal attacks on him.
Oh, he insulted a lot of people.
Oh yeah, that seems to be a favorite.
No one is immune apparently, and
that's a favorite pastime, Donald Trump. See who can insult this week.
Yeah. But you know what? A part of me says he might have done it for stats. right? He
It seems like he says some wild things just for shock value.
Yeah, he wants that shock value so more people can, he gets this critical mass of the mass media, and then more people just see him and see his campaign, and it just kind of snowballs, and it's all shock value, But maybe that's what he wanted.
I don't know if you saw this. I was looking at I'm sorry, something on Facebook or something. But I guess it's the Hollywood Walk of Fame or something like that, and they had Donald Trump on there or something. He has I guess it's the Hollywood Walk of Fame because it was his name and everything.
Right.
And man, some guy went on to build a wall around it, like a little 3-inch wall all the way around his name.
Square? Oh my God, that would have been hilarious. But does he have a square in Hollywood?
I guess that was it, unless this was something in Atlantic City. That has his name on it, but whatever it was, somebody made a concrete wall about 3 or 4 inches and put it all the way around all the way around the whole stone there. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But man, I tell you.
So do you recall anything that he said that just kind of stuck out?
No,
during the RNC, or did he do a good job and play it by the book and kind of rally supporters?
No, he was. Usually the person that's getting a nomination doesn't show until the last day. They kind of there's like a build up. From day one, Donald was at the forefront. Right. There walking on stage, and it just, I don't know, man. It's kind of a circus to me. I'm not a Donald Trump fan.
Right.
I'll let you know that.
A lot of people are.
I mean, just see a lot of fear mongering, and even the day that they were supposed to be pushing jobs, all they did was just try to scare people.
Right.
This and this and this, and just a litany of things that they went through. So I don't know, man.
I think immigration was still like a big part of what I saw was important during his talks.
Yeah.
And it's the same rhetoric, like we got to secure our borders. I think it even escalated in saying we're not going to let people into our country that have known terrorists.
Yeah.
Just kind of like brickwalling the United States and saying, hey, no one else is getting in because we know that you have terrorists.
You know what?
Like Turkey
and I am totally for vetting these people before we let them in. I would never say, well, we're going to keep, just 100%, we're going to keep certain people out, which I think is un-American to say with the beginning. But that vetting process has to be.
Oh yeah, I agree. Like I think that there has to be border security.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
You got to have border
security. We can't have a border that is not secure. Anyone can get in, can get out, and that includes our waters as well, right?
Yeah.
Like that's why we have the Coast Guard. But I think they're focusing on the one border, which happens to be next to Mexico. But then you think about the borders outside of Texas and that border Mexico, and you got the West Coast and the East Coast. How come no one's talking about those borders?
Yeah.
Right. I just think it's a point of very heated debate. And again, shock value. And they're catering to a certain crowd, So I don't know, but I think there's a lot of people who agree with what he's saying. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been the nominee.
And there are just so many people, and a lot of the people are, they have to be first-time voters.
Yeah.
They have to be first-time voters. They're they're there, and they have no idea how this process works. I think a lot of it caught Trump by surprise during the primary. He said, "Oh, it's rigged against me," and things like that. So, but they don't realize the whole process, and you got to know that process if you're going to get involved with this.
A lot of people are comparing the nomination of Donald Trump to the equivalent of the Brexit vote. A lot of people didn't know exactly what they were voting for.
Yeah.
And they're making that comparison with Donald Trump. They just hear him. He's a great man, and he says all these great things, but they still don't believe. They don't know what he stands for or what he's going to do, right? And the same thing for Brexit. A lot of people just were hearing things, and they were misled about what exactly it meant to leave the European Union. And guess what? It happened, and people weren't 100% aware of what it actually
What the hell
meant.
they just voted
But when
for.
they did realize,
Yeah.
you know, there were just tons of regrets.
A lot of,
Their currency was devalued. I think it's been the lowest in like 30 years or 12 years. 12 or 30 years. It's pretty intense, you know.
You know that's oh man, you just don't know what's going to happen with that. I would think from economic days at the University of St. Thomas that it would strengthen the dollar, you know.
Yeah.
But at what cost to the European Union and to Britain especially?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Oh yeah, and the dollar is definitely
you have to. I mean, man, I'm just afraid to think of where this could lead. You know.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And no one really knows, right? No one has a fortune teller or a crystal ball that tells us where things are going to be headed. But it's up to us to really decide, like, who you put into the White House, right? And I think a lot of people are disappointed with the nominees right now. I've heard, you know, lots of Democrats say, well, I'm not happy, you know, that Hillary's the nominee, but she is. And then now it's like vote for the lesser of two evils, right? And
that's what it seems
who's
like.
the lesser of two evil? Right?
Hillary, I think she did a good job as Secretary of State. And I gained a lot more respect for her as her tenure Secretary of State. But she wouldn't have been my first choice. But you know, Donald Trump, I mean, my gosh. I mean, I sure as you know what, ain't not going to vote for Donald Trump.
And, you know, it's funny, you know, you have that opinion from this perspective, and Republicans have that same opinion of Hillary. They're like, oh, my God, how is she still in charge? You know, how is she Obama's VP? You know, so there's questions on both sides.
You know, that's true.
But
that's true.
You know,
but you know, but what gets me, and you know, I understand. You know, what gets me, if you're a Latino, how can and I just don't know. I just can't wrap my mind around it. Why a person that has disparaged your culture, your community, your heritage, that those people would still come out and back him. You know, that's what gets me. I just can't do it. Man, call my mama something. Yeah, I never forgive him, man. We gotta fight. You know what? Call my mama. You know, that's basically what it comes down to.
You know, I think it has to do with like your political views, and then there's also an aspect of, you know, where you lie in the financial pie compared to everybody else, right? Because I've heard many people say that after you cross this financial threshold, you tend to be a Republican.
Yeah.
Right? So I think the Latinos who are supporting Trump are probably
past that threshold.
They're past that threshold, and you know, they've always sided with Republicans, and no sense of logic is going to.
But at the same time, Enrique, these same people are you know, say, why would you back that? This guy has numerous bankruptcies.
Yeah.
You know, he always leaves somebody else holding the bag. You know, and this is you're going to put in charge of your economy. This guy has.
You know, it goes.
I guess he knows when to hold them, when to fold them.
it goes back to, you know, like just being a diehard supporter, right?
Yeah.
It's like, he's the Republican nominee. I'm Republican. I got to support him, right?
Yeah.
And it's this blind faith, I guess, you know.
Oh man.
But it goes against reason. I agree with you, right? And it's going to take a lot of reasoning and information sharing to dissuade someone. Like, let's say someone's been a Democrat for 20 years or a Republican for 20 years, and then you try to convince them why they shouldn't be whatever they are right now. It's not going to be an overnight thing, you know.
No, that's for sure.
But
you know, it's going to be a person's conscience and in that ballot that. At the ballot boxes, that's, you know, when you're sitting there by yourself and you're going to decide which way you're going to go.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to take, man. That's what it's going to take. So we'll just have to see, man. It's for greater minds than ours to ponder.
Yeah. What do you think of the VP picks?
Well, I think Trump made a good choice. I think for him that was probably someone that knew what the hell he was doing, and more someone to appeal to conservatives would be good for him. You know, kind of bring him and it's hard to, I don't want to say bring him back to center because, of course, if you're a conservative, you're not going back to center, but I guess to the center of right-wing conservatism.
Right.
You know, instead of but I think he made a good choice with him. Now, Hillary with Kane, you know, personally, I would have loved to have seen him pick either a woman or a Latino.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why he went with Kane.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's going to have to grow on me. I'm going to have to see. I didn't know a lot about this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I didn't know anything about either. So
yeah.
I think the announcements were all new to us. But
man, I tell you, it's going to be interesting. This is going to be. It has been a wild election season, and it's just beginning, man. We still got another.
Yeah, I think the gloves are about to come off, and you're going to see Hillary and Trump going back at it.
3.5, 4 months to go. Holy
and, you know,
smokes.
Hillary was cleared of her emails.
Yeah.
The email, you know, scam. Oh, not, I wouldn't say scam, but the controversy.
Yeah. Right.
No harm done, but she should have known better. It was kind of like a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Which I think it was overblown to begin with, but you know, it is what it is.
I tell you, man. We have to see what happens.
Yeah.
See what happens. Well, it looks like we're gonna get our guests on, right?
Yeah, I think we're gonna take a quick break. And we're going to take a quick break right now. So our next guest will be joining us. It's
going to be Patty Fernandez.
Mm-hmm.
She is an attorney, an immigration attorney. Very, very smart young lady. And we get to talk to her and see how this immigration how this immigration problem is.
Maybe she can figure out how to break down the wall.
Well, she's a good attorney. I'm sure she can figure out something. But I guess so we'll be back in a couple of minutes, folks. Just stay with us, and we're going to come back with Patty Fernandez. Thank you very much. Folks, welcome back to Latino Talk TV, and we have a very special guest with us today. We have Miss Patty Fernandez, who is an immigration attorney here in Houston, And to tell you the truth, she is a member of the NHPO Leadership Institute Class 15. She just started. So I'm telling Patty, I'm used to seeing her in sweats and T-shirts and all that. She looks I mean, she's a beautiful lady, very intelligent. It's so great to have you here. Patty Fernandez, La Licenciada Patty Fernandez.
Thank you.
So, Patty, how long have you been an attorney?
I've been an attorney for 3 years.
Really? So when did you graduate from?
I graduated in 2012, but taking the bar, and I mean, it takes a couple months and to wait for the results. Yeah, so it's been 3 years now. Seems longer.
Where'd you go to school?
I graduated from Texas Southern here in Houston.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
And so are you a Houstonian?
Born and raised in Houston.
Really?
Yes.
And your background? I know immigration has a really special place in your heart.
Yes.
Where's your parents from?
Well, my parents are from Mexico. They
Okay.
immigrated probably in the early 1980s, and they actually became residents through the amnesty. Through
Ronald Reagan.
Right, Ronald
Wow.
Reagan, yes. And they naturalized, became citizens as soon as they could. I think I was probably like in elementary school.
And what did your parents do?
My parents in Mexico were actually doctors. They were doctors in Mexico, yes.
Wow,
And,
that's fantastic.
And they met in medical school, and things were very, very tough, even in that time in Mexico. And so my father wanted to practice here in the U.S., and that's why he came to Houston, to the best medical center in the world.
Right.
So they moved to Houston, and before
And
I was
that's
born.
a very difficult thing to have your medical license, or to get a medical license here in the States from another country.
Right.
Isn't that true?
It is, and the first thing is the language barrier.
Yeah.
And so the language barrier, and he also, when he went to school, he had never taken exams and had never done multiple choice exams.
Really?
So to him, it was like, what is this, a foreign concept? First language and the type of exams that we're taking here in the U.S. So just the struggles of an immigrant having a family here. Unfortunately, they never passed the boards here. But it, they still instilled in us hard work and education. And
so immigration has been something that you're very passionate about.
It is.
Right? Why don't you give us a little more on that? Why are you so passionate, and why did you choose that line of specialty in law?
So I guess it hit close to home because just seeing my parents struggle as kids with the language barrier, and them coming from the cream of the crop in their home country and being treated as, and I witnessed it, second-class citizens here in the U.S., I just knew I had to do something. And I think the best way was through education and going on to law school and helping people in similar situations.
And you said your parents became naturalized as soon as they could, right?
Yes, they did.
So how long did that take them once they moved to the States?
So I think they must have applied for their residency during Ronald Reagan's term. I don't remember exactly the year, but in the 80s, mid-80s. Okay. But I remember when my parents went to their citizenship, or to their ceremony, naturalization ceremony, I think I was in 5th grade.
Wow.
And I remember that. I remember.
Wow. And you were born in Houston,
I was born
right?
in Houston, yes.
Wow.
And I remember them getting ready and going to their ceremony. I remember, and they came back very happy.
Wow.
Yes. So
you were about 10 or 11 then, right?
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. I love that the story of how these people come here and embrace the American dream.
Yes.
So your parents were neither drug dealers or rapists. They were part of the assumed. I guess they assumed some are good people.
The majority. I would say 99% of them are.
Oh, absolutely, 99.9.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And this is what, and they are the ones that make America great. So. Yes.
Well, you know what? Well, let's move on a little bit, Patty. The Supreme Court deadlocked on the executive action known as DAPA.
That's correct.
So first of all, tell us what I'm sorry, was it DAPA or DACA?
Well, it was both.
Okay.
So it was expanded DACA and DAPA. So DAPA was abbreviation for Deferred Action for Parents of U.S. Citizens or Lawful Permanent Residents.
Okay.
That was the program that was implemented by President Obama in 2010, so recently. I'm sorry, 2014. 2014. However, there was lawsuits and blocking the DAPA, and so it went up all the way up to the Supreme Court and of the United States. On June 23rd, 2016, the Supreme Court announced a 4-4 tie decision. That means that
it reverts back to the right.
Exactly.
To
So
the former right.
Right, to the lower court. And so it's blocked. It's not going to go through anytime soon because it's a tie, 4-4.
Now, can it be brought back to the court once
can.
they get the next justice appointed there or instilled in the Supreme Court? But does the process have to start again, or can they just pick up and look at it again, or does a whole new case have to come up before them?
Well, it's going to recently. It was most likely it's going to have to go back through the chains of command. It's going to have to go back to the lower court, and it will be heard. It could be reheard next year, most likely, and most likely there'll be a new president, of course,
Right.
and that will directly affect whether it passes or it doesn't.
Now, would that mean that a new executive order would have, or can he put the new president, incoming president, whoever that is, if he wants to, he have to start a new order, and then it would go into litigation again?
Yes, it could be either the same executive, Obama's current executive action, or they could completely do away with it. They can add some new other components to it, but it can be heard. But that's the important part, that the new president will most likely appoint the new Supreme Court justice. And so that's very important in this next coming election, because it could be a very progressive justice or a very conservative.
Yeah.
So if it's conservative, there won't be a DAPA or expanded DACA.
Yeah. But then again, you never know. It seems like in the Supreme Court. I remember when George Bush won, when he appointed Souter, they thought he was going to be a conservative, and he ended up being a lot more moderate than what they would have loved. So, but it just seems to happen with the more conservative. They become a little more moderate, and usually the most liberal, they kind of stay in that range there. So, what next? I mean, since they, so do these people no longer have that protection?
That's correct.
So do a deportation start again? Do they start around? I mean, what's next?
So for most of these people, they're not in removal proceedings. They are deportable just by the fact that they entered unlawfully into the U.S. But because of the resources, and if they stay they don't pick up any criminal charges, they're usually just gonna have to live under the radar, in the shadows. So that's the purpose. That was the purpose of DAPA. It was going to provide a protection from deportation and lawful or the ability to work legally in the United States. So as of now, they have no protection. If they pick up a criminal offense, they could be placed in removal proceedings and be deported if they don't have some relief. So yes.
Now the criminal proceeding, is that what 287G is?
No, that is with the criminal courts in the county. So that's separate from removal proceedings in immigration court. Okay. So usually when they get placed, let's say they get arrested for DWI, they get arrested, they get booked, printed. Sometimes, usually ICE will put an ICE hold. So even though they qualify for a bond, they won't be bonded out. They'll be transferred to ICE. And then at ICE, that's when they're going to have to address see if they qualify for any immigration relief.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's what the issue is. They don't have, the people who would have qualified for DAPA don't have any protection from removal proceedings. I mean, from deportation.
So it's back to the shadows for them, huh?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so that's why it's the important thing in these elections is to vote, to educate yourself. I mean, if you can't vote, you probably know you have a family member, a child who's at least 18 years old, a coworker, family member who can vote. So it's important to vote in these elections.
Well, you know, Patty, so where does that leave the kids that are actually born here, like you were, but your parents came, of course, legally.
Right.
But how about these parents that came just looking for a better life, that were fleeing a suppressive government, you know, like a lot of people in El Salvador and parts of Mexico decided they just couldn't
Right.
couldn't live that way anymore, and they come here and they have children, and their children are citizens. So
Right.
what happens then? Are they hoping that they'll take their kids with them to Mexico, or
Well,
but that doesn't happen a lot of times.
Right. That's the unfortunate part of this broken immigration system. So, so if somebody is fleeing their home country, recently from Central America or even Mexico, they're entitled to seek asylum in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
The issue with that is they have 1 year to apply for asylum. If not, they lose that benefit. So there's been recent arrivals recently especially from Central America, or the unaccompanied minor children, and they get caught at the border, and they are placed automatically into removal proceedings. So yes, a lot of those young children are seeking asylum or other forms of relief. But yes, so that's really the only immediate relief if somebody comes into the country and they seek asylum within 1 year to apply for asylum. Other than that, if they marry a U.S. citizen, there's other forms, limited forms for somebody who comes in unlawfully.
Well, and so with DAPA not in the picture anymore, what rights have they lost? I mean, do they just totally need to go off the radar? Do they have any protection at all?
Unfortunately, I mean, every case is different. Sometimes, for example, most of these people have been here for several years, more than 10, 20 years. Sometimes they might have a U.S. citizen child who can petition for them. There's other issues with that too. Or they can qualify for, they might be married to a U.S. citizen.
Mm-hmm.
That might be another option. Or if they've been a victim of a crime, a serious crime, there's a form of relief called the U visa. When somebody without status is a victim of a serious crime and they cooperate with authorities, they can obtain legal, a work permit and eventually apply for their residency. So there's limited forms of relief for people who don't have any status. But that's why it's important to vote in these elections, to educate yourself, and so we can continue to push for some kind of comprehensive immigration reform, or if not, this executive action, something even better.
You know, it's when we see, of course, they talk about these young kids that have immigrated to the United States. A lot of them mainly without their parents. So do they have more rights than just, let's say, if they were adults and they had entered illegally into the States?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have more rights since they're minors?
That's a good question. In a way, yes, because of their age. They're technically, because of their age, there's more discretion, and yes, as far as, for example, a child who is they have to be unaccompanied, no parents, they have to come by themselves, and be less than 18 years old, so 17 and under. If they come into this country and without a parent and under the age of 18, they can qualify for asylum, and they can apply for asylum even after they enter, even after 1 year, because of their age. They also qualify under a visa. It's called a special immigrant juvenile status, and they can qualify for this this form of relief if they've been abandoned or neglected or abused by one or both parents in their home country. So I've had several clients like that, that essentially if we can go to, and we have to go to state court first, and request a suit affecting parent-child relationship petition, and tell the state judge that this child has been abandoned or abused or neglected in their home country, and please grant the new parent, the custodial parent here in the U.S., the suit affecting parent-child relationship, so they'll be the custodian of the parent,
So
of the child.
let me ask you, Patty, when say if a child does come and he's, of course, he's stopped at the border, whatever, he's caught, who decides where that child goes? Or does that child usually come with the mind, well, I have an uncle here or an aunt or some distant relative that is willing to take me in? I mean, what happens if the kid doesn't have that?
Right. No, good question. So usually when they get apprehended at the border, that's usually when the children get caught. ICE or Custom and Border Protection will pick them up, identify them as, under their, we'll ask them their age, we'll interview them, and if they are minors, they are screened by the Office of Refugee and Resettlement Organization, and there they usually take them to a shelter, and usually these kids are coming to be reunited with usually mom, for example. Most of my cases, they've been abandoned. For example, they were living in their home country. Dad, for example, leaves for whatever reason, and so mom has no other form of providing for the child, so she leaves them with a grandparent, comes to the U.S., provides for the child for a certain amount of time. When the child is 13, 14 years old, they send for them to come to the U.S. So usually they're being reunited by a parent. And if they're not...
And when they're sent for, it's not like they just get on a bus or plane and they come here. They have to take that very treacherous journey through here.
Yes.
And get smuggled across the border and somehow make their way.
And sometimes
back.
they're the victims of trafficking. So it's what's known as La Bestia. It's a train that runs through Mexico, cargo train. And a lot of these children will make that journey on the cargo train. And there's been tragedies, like they fall off, lose a limb, or are victims of serious gangs while they're traveling. So their journeys are horrific. Yeah, they're horrific.
It just breaks my heart to see that.
I know.
What has, I know you can't discuss what your attorney-client privilege, but what is your feeling about a lot of the cases? What has really touched you, broken your heart with some of these cases?
A lot of them, for the children, what they go through, they grow up so fast.
Yeah.
They grow up so fast, not having either parents. Their journeys once they get here, and also a lot of the women that have to travel through, that come from Central America, even Mexico, and they're victims of serious crime, even domestic violence in their home countries, and that's why they're fleeing their home country. So hearing their stories, and that there's no recourse in their countries, like if they go to the police won't do anything. So it's, I think it's those stories, the children and the women that touch, that will have a special place in my heart because of what they go through.
So what's the next step in immigration reform, Patty?
Honestly, we need to get out and vote. We need to register and vote. Right now, it's the lawful permanent residents will not be able to naturalize in time for the November elections. So it's to vote for the right candidates, and it's not just the presidential candidate. It's also state and local officials that will have an impact. So that's the number one key: vote, vote, vote.
Vote, vote, vote. So
yes.
if you can, you know what? And I believe it's something like, from what I understand from statistics, it's like 10,000 new Hispanic voters a month are eligible to vote.
I think so, yeah.
in the States, you know, 10,000 a month.
That's right.
So that's an amazing, that's a powerful voting block.
That's right.
If we would just take advantage of that.
Exactly. And we have until October 11th, 2016 to register to vote. And it's easy to register. You can go to the post office. You can go to the local libraries. There's also a website. I believe it's, let me just confirm, www.votetexas.gov, and there's an application to fill out for voter registration. So it's very simple. There's enough time until October 11th. So as long as you're 18 years old, a U.S. citizen, and you register in your local county, you can vote.
Now, wherever they have that voter registration card, they can just pick it up and just drop it in the mail, right? Fill it in and drop it in the mail.
Yes, you can pick it up at the post office.
I think I even have some at the counter at TBH.
Perfect, perfect. So we got to get some people to come in, some 18-year-olds.
Yeah, it's not a hard process. I mean, if you're legally capable of registering, you need to do it. That's absolutely for sure.
Very important.
So what's say a person can't vote? What do they do in the meantime?
Well, I think it's encourage your family members, who are citizens, co-workers, neighbors, to vote, and also to if they're not lawful, have any status, don't break the law in the meantime. Yeah. Don't drink and drive. Don't use drugs. Don't hit your family members. That's what places a lot of individuals in serious situations with immigration. Don't break the law. That's the best thing until something hopefully will pass in the future. Get involved with the communities, learn English, pay your taxes, be a model, individual. So when something does happen, you'll be available for that. You'll qualify for some kind of relief.
Do you get a lot of calls, Patty, from say individuals that have been picked up and they're looking for some kind of help, some kind of direction to go? I mean, do you get a lot of those calls?
Yes, we do. I mean, no one's perfect.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes there's no options. For example, if they pick up if they're here unlawfully and they pick up a possession of cocaine, for example. Yeah. There's nothing. And so that's another thing, important to note, that whenever people are in trouble and do need some immigration advice, be careful with notarios. Yeah. Sometimes there's a lot of notario fraud. They are not licensed attorneys. They don't. And
they come from Mexico, so a notario in Mexico is something completely different
right.
than what it is
They're
here.
Judges or attorneys in their home country, in Mexico, and I think Central America too. But here in the U.S., they are not attorneys. And they usually explain to clients, oh, it's just a simple form. No, these immigration forms have law behind them and have serious consequences if you fill them out incorrectly or you fill them out and you don't qualify for that relief. Yeah. So be careful with notarios, get informed. And
how long does that process take? Say you're where you can help someone. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, just to get the paperwork filled out and to try to get some type of legal status, how long is that process?
So it depends on the type of relief. It could be, for example, if somebody came in here unlawfully and they marry a U.S. citizen, they fall in love, it's a bona fide marriage, and let's say it's in good faith, the marriage is in good faith, you file a petition. Right now, the processing time for a petition is about 4 to 6 months just to get it approved. Then the next step would be this person who came in unlawfully has to file what is called el perdón. A lot of people know of el perdón. It's a waiver of unlawful presence. So then that could take another six months. The good thing about President Obama passed this unlawful presence waiver that can be done here in the United States. And so that period you can complete in the United States. Once that's approved, they still have to go to their interview in their home country. And there's a misconception that President Obama passed este perdón, this waiver, they never have to leave the country. They do. They have to go to their interview. They just don't have to wait for the period of the approval of the waiver, perdón. They can wait that period here in the United States.
Yeah. See, that's what kills me. I mean, if I've already made it this far, and by some miracle I'm working and I'm able to to send money back home or something like that, I am not going to go back to that country for X amount of years to give me permission to come back legally. I mean, I don't think that's
Right.
I don't think that's realistic.
Right. And the good thing is about this provisional waiver that was passed in 2013 is that they just have to go to their interview, which can take a couple weeks, hopefully, if they don't have any other issues once they're at their home country at the interview.
So they would have to go to home country for the interview,
Yes.
and then, but still, would they be given legal admission to come back?
Yes.
Oh,
That's when
okay.
they'll get their residency, and
Yeah.
they'll come in as a resident. But before, they had to go and do this unlawful presence waiver outside the country.
Yeah.
And that could sometimes take years. So that's something very important. That was passed by President Obama, and this could be taken away with the next president.
Wow.
So there's a lot
Very
of
important. A
consequences.
lot of things are hanging in the balance, aren't they?
Very, yes. So
Yeah.
that's something that can be lost. And we've only had it since, if I'm not mistaken, March 2013.
What other and any other information that would be beneficial to somebody that's in that situation, that has that status right now, Patty?
I think that definitely be careful with notarios. Second, be careful. Also, it's important to have different forms of sources of information, resources. Sometimes the news will keep you abreast of what's going on, but sometimes they don't provide all the information. So I think one of the best resources for people is to go to the USCIS abbreviation. It's the United States Citizen and Immigration Services website, and that has the latest information, latest news, regulations, policies that have passed. That's the best source of information. So not just rely on one source of information. Go to the USCIS website to confirm anything that you heard from a neighbor, from the news. Go to this website, USCIS.com, and it's easy to maneuver and to get your latest information.
So how if somebody wants to get in touch with Patricia Fernandez, how do they do that?
Well, probably call my office.
Okay.
And my number is 832-834-6175. Once again, that's 832-834-6175.
It's Patricia Fernandez, right?
Yes.
I tell you, Patty, I think, and just real quick, Patty. So, how are you enjoying the NHPO leadership in the class 15?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Words don't have. I can't describe it in words. Like, it is such a good, positive group. I can't even explain it. It's just the energy, the sense of working as a community, working as a group. I feel very blessed, and I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I'm just meeting great people like you and your wife.
Oh, well, we
So
appreciate
thank you
that.
for the opportunity.
And I tell you, Pat, one thing that really got to me was I could tell that you had a really great passion for what you're doing.
I do.
And that's you can't buy that, you can't teach that. It's just kind of instilled in you, and you're doing a fantastic job. And I think you'll be the third attorney that's gone through the Leadership Institute. So
Awesome.
so that's great, And folks, if you have any immigration problems out there, just give Patty a call. You could we'd be happy to check our website or Facebook, and we'll put her information on there also. So thank you, Patty, for being with us.
Thank
We're going to
you.
be back in just a minute with Richard Reyes, Pancho Claus, in just a few minutes. So we'll see you in a couple minutes. Thanks. Thank you, folks, for coming back to Latino Talk TV. And now our guest to help us wrap up the show, the man that doesn't need any introduction, believe me.
Then why are you introducing him?
Well, because I got to, man. I got to say that. But Mr. Richard Reyes, and if you haven't been around the East End and Latino parts of Houston, you'll know him as Pancho Claus.
And what is this? Is this new furniture?
Hey, man,
is this IKEA or Vietnamese furniture?
This is our short set.
And are you going to change your rating because this is a twister game? Are you and I going to
It does look like a twister carpet, doesn't it? But no, I tell you, Richard, we just today you had your Christmas in July celebration, man. And I know that was a lot of work, man, but it seemed to have gone off very, very well.
Oh yeah, the community leaders come out. I mean, Councilmember Cisneros was there, and Judge Emmett, and just a lot of community leaders came and supported. You did.
Hey man, I got to do I got to do 5 minutes of stand up.
Yeah, he was. I mean, we gave him the corniest Christmas jokes, and he put on a Cheech and Chong accent and went, wow. That's the second time you've been on stage doing comedy. Maybe you got a new career.
I don't know.
You
Maybe
did
I might
Vato
have to.
Locos comedy show?
Don't.
Watch
My
out,
wife
Pat.
will tell you, don't push me in that direction. I don't need. It doesn't take a lot for me to go crazy here.
Yeah,
but
you did a fantastic job.
But so Richard, what's left for you this year? And then now you have recently in the last probably what 4 or 5 months come back to TBH.
Right, and it's been great. I mean, we were able to do more things. Like today, we gave out about 12 scholarships. 10 of the students were there, and that was just a joy to my heart because we have youth that work with us for decades or longer, and you just want to do something for them. They're real involved in their community. They're real involved with helping their parents and working. And maybe they don't have the best grades, but these scholarships we gave today, some of them were very studious, but some of them just don't make those A's and B's to get a prestigious grant. So we help them if they want to go to community college or a trade school, and we also help DACA students if that's what they want to do. Use their money for that. They can do that also.
Wow, that's great, man. And how long does the Christmas in July? I mean, that you probably plan all year long for that, don't you?
Well, yeah, we basically, that's a big event. We've been doing this at 1981, so 35 years. Christmas in July is about 8 years old, so yeah. I know we've been here.
I tell you, Richard, it was really. I mean, I've been to like the last 3 or 4, and it's kind of it's a lot of fun to see who you're going to bring up on stage next.
Oh yeah, because we get community leaders to get up and dance and sing, and it can be great where people are like, wow, it can be a train wreck where people really enjoy that while these dancers go left and community leader goes right. So
I tell you, man, and I got to wear a zoot suit today. That was guys. Richard, I don't got a zoot suit. Richard has his own wardrobe of zoot suits in all type of sizes.
They don't sell them anymore, so we have them.
So what's down the pipe, Richard? What's going on?
Well, we started an open mic night at TBH.
You know what? That's right.
Yeah, to nurture those talented people that want that chance, whether they're songwriters or sing or play an instrument, especially comedians come, spoken word. And it could be new people, and it could be people that have experience, they just want to try new material. And that's every Wednesday at 7 o'clock at TBH, and it's free.
Yeah.
And we have cheap beer.
Yeah.
And it's a very intimate setting in the lobby, holds about 100 people. So I think people are going to really enjoy it. We started last week, but we're going to be there every Wednesday.
I tell you, I think it's really going to catch on. You had a good crowd to begin with.
Yeah, we filled it up.
Who was your MC?
Juan Villarreal. He's an international comedian. He's open for D.L. Hughley and Cedric the Entertainer. And he loves, he started our open mic night 20 years ago when we had one. Yeah. So he still gives to the community.
I tell you, he is such a great guy. He's a funny guy, super funny guy.
Right. Exactly.
So what else is down the pipe, Richard?
Well, we want to start some things for the Mexican American community, like open mic night, and we're going to have a Tejano. Luis Suarez from Accent Band and his wife Gwen are going to help us start some Tejano band for the young. Keep that onda alive, keep Tejano music alive. So he's going to mentor a Tejano youth band for that, and kids want to know about that. But also some mariachis and some accordion,
So you're talking about starting a mariachi class at TBH, aren't you?
TBH Mariachi Group, yeah, that's the brand.
Yeah, man. How far is that out?
Probably for the school year. When school starts back, we'll start getting into that. Jose Perales from, he trained at Mecca, has his own Mariachi Imperial. They're all going to be there helping us. So.
You know, Mecca's done a great, I know you were at Mecca for many years, right, with bringing a lot of your programs there.
Well, I was at Mecca for a little bit, and but Alice and I grew up in this business. I mean, we both started in the early 1980s.
That's Alice Valdez of Mecca.
Alice
She's
Valdez.
a great lady.
And we only had ourselves to trade, you know,
Yeah.
secrets with, and strategies and politics, and we still continue. We still have those midnight dinners at
Yeah.
Andy's.
Yeah. Hey, I do those midnight dinners. Andy's is a great place.
Right.
What about, how about, hey, how's Christmas going? What do you got planned for Christmas?
Well, we just got through with Christmas in July, but yes, we're going to be looking toward Christmas, and not too long from now, we're going to be looking for volunteers where we place our Christmas boxes, collection boxes, or to come to TBH and help us decorate boxes. There's just a lot of stuff to do.
How do people get in touch with Pancho Claus, Richard?
Well, you know, when we started 30-something years ago, people would just write me a letter from jail and performance pull my sleeve, because, you know, we started Pancho Claus as a Christmas play. And then before you know it, people started really thinking I was a Pancho Claus and started asking for help. And it's really grown since then. And so they just get hold of us. Now, of course, Facebook, but they can get Instagram,
they could always
or
get a hold of you through TBH.
Our TBH.
And folks, give us just a little time, because we're getting a new phone system at TBH. It's going to be a lot easier to get a hold of Richard or anybody there
Or
on
come in
staff.
person right there at Jensen Navigation. We're opening up that new Guadalupe Plaza Park. Right there at the Jensen Navigation. It's
That's right. It opens
right?
up this coming Saturday.
Bring your kids, come and see the new
Absolutely,
park. Yeah.
absolutely. And maybe we'll see the Pancho Claus show at TBH.
Not in the hot sun. Not in the hot sun, but yeah,
in
for
the
Christmas.
theater for Christmas.
We're gonna do it for Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring the kids.
I tell you, that ought to be a great thing. And I know you used to do the night before Christmas, but Latino style, the play.
Yeah.
But I tell you, folks, Richard, let me tell you, it's great having you at TBH, having
That's
you back
great being
there.
back.
It's like having a long lost uncle that come back and
without the coronas, damn it. He locks up the beer.
But folks, looks like I got to wrap up now. So boy, I tell you, it seems like just the time just goes too fast. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I'm sorry we had that Ben had to work late, but you know, this is pretty good. I get to sit here one-on-one with Richard and with Patty Fernandez and Enrique Arana. I mean, these are great individuals. I tell you, it's a great show. And tune in next week, folks. Remember, we're live every Monday at 6 o'clock here at HMS Studios, and we'll see you next week. So good night and have a good week.